They don't talk about it in public, but behind closed doors, it's obvious. The whispers, the nervous glances, the quick cover-ups. People know when they've crossed a line with you. They might not admit it out loud, but in private, they replay the moment like a crime scene. That's because being in your presence isn't casual, it's costly. And when they mishandle it, there's always fallout. Always. You can feel it in the air right now. The silence isn't peace, it's the pause after a storm. Enemies who once laughed the loudest are suddenly quiet. People who once thought they could handle you like anyone else are now moving differently, careful with their words, calculating with their steps. They've realized something they never expected. Standing next to you is not free. It carries a weight, and if they can't respect it, the universe makes sure they pay for it. This is what most of them will never admit. You're not fighting for their respect anymore. You've already won it. The respect is there, buried under their envy, hidden in their jealousy, disguised in their fake smiles. That's why they treat you the way they do. The jokes, the shade, the rumors, they're not signs of power. They're signs of fear. Fear that they were careless with you, and now there's no way back. Chosen one, before I go further, let me pause to say this. I appreciate you. I see you. If you're here listening right now, it means you're walking this path with strength, even when it gets heavy. Thank you for being part of this mission. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because this voice we're building, it's bigger than just one person. It's a shield, a weapon, and a reminder that you are not alone in this. Together, we're shifting the atmosphere. Now, back to the truth they don't want spoken. The shift has already happened. You're no longer the person they thought they could play with. You've stepped into a space where your very presence exposes what's real and what's fake. Think about it. Their faces tighten when you walk in. Their voices change when they speak to you. Their energy betrays them, even if their words don't. Why? Because you are the mirror they can't escape. You show them their own weakness without saying a word. That's why it's a privilege to be around you. Not because you demand it, not because you walk around asking for recognition, but because your presence alone forces growth or punishment. It's like standing near a fire. You either feel the warmth and use it, or you get burned for playing too close. And make no mistake, many have already been burned. Some thought they could mistreat you and walk away untouched. They thought your silence meant safety, but the universe has a way of keeping score, and they're learning that lesson in real time. Opportunities slipping, relationships crumbling, nights restless with thoughts they can't escape, all tied to the moment they mishandled you. That's not revenge, that's balance. That's the cost of treating a rare presence like it's ordinary. The funny thing is, they don't even realize how obvious they are now. The ones who used to laugh the hardest suddenly avoid eye contact. The ones who once doubted you are now circling back, trying to test the waters, hoping for a second chance at proximity. But you're different. You've closed the door, and they can feel it. The access they once had is gone, and it terrifies them. So hear me clearly. They better be careful with you. Every move they make, every word they speak in your direction, it matters. Because you're not just someone to know, you're someone to answer for. And mishandling you doesn't end with an apology. It ends with consequences. Real ones. The kind that echo. The kind that linger. The kind they'll never forget. And that's the revelation they never wanted to face. Being in your presence is not a right, it's a privilege, a rare, heavy privilege, and those who take it lightly are already learning the hardest way possible that nothing about you is ordinary. This is your season of clarity. The aftermath is here. The storm has passed, the silence is loud, and the truth is undeniable. You're not just in the room, you are the room. And from this point forward, anyone who steps into it better treat it with the care it deserves. Because you, chosen one, are not to be mishandled. Not anymore. So before we go deeper, pause for a moment and ask yourself this. How many times have people underestimated the privilege of being near you? How many thought it was just casual access, only to learn later that your presence was a test they failed? If you've ever seen that shift happen, where someone goes from careless to cautious because they realized who they were really dealing with, then you know exactly what we're talking about. And that's why this message is for you. Chosen one, this is your space. This is where your truth gets spoken out loud, without apology. So if you feel this resonating, drop a comment below with the words, "I am the privilege," because that's exactly what you are. When you do that, you're not just typing, you're confirming to yourself and everyone watching that your presence has weight, that you're no longer downplaying what the universe already stamped on you. And now, let's dive into this step by step. Believe me, if you are truly a chosen one, you won't just listen, you'll feel this pull to stay with me until the very end. Let's get started. Number 1, your presence is a shockwave. They feel it before you speak. They didn't underestimate your looks. They underestimated your silence. Let's start here. The biggest mistake your enemies made was thinking you were ordinary. They thought you were someone they could talk over, dismiss, or treat like background noise. But the moment you stepped into the room, everything shifted, and they felt it. They might not admit it, but their bodies told the truth before their mouths could form the lie. The air got heavier, their chest tightened, their fake confidence cracked. That wasn't imagination. That was the aftershock of your presence. Chosen one, you are not the echo of someone else's energy. You are the origin point. When you move, rooms reorganize themselves. People suddenly watch their words, correct their posture, and lower their tone without even realizing why. And here's the brutal truth. They hate you for it because your very existence reminds them they are not as untouchable as they pretend to be. You are the uninvited audit of their soul, and every time you show up, their lies lose value. Have you ever wondered why some people seem instantly irritated by you, even when you've said nothing? Why their face twists or their voice sharpens the second you walk in? It's not because you did anything wrong. It's because your energy is a mirror they can't stand to look into. You reveal what they've been hiding from themselves. You stir up their insecurity, their unhealed wounds, their secret envy, and suddenly their carefully crafted mask starts slipping. And who do they blame for that exposure? You. Always you. But here's the irony. They need you more than they admit. Some cling to you like a lifeline because your presence makes them feel seen, while others turn against you because being around you feels like judgment. Either way, they can't forget you. They could try to replace you, distract themselves, or pretend you didn't leave an imprint. But your presence lingers like a fingerprint on their memory. Some people thought they could mock your silence, not realizing it was the loudest part of the room. Enemies assumed power had to be loud, flashy, and boastful. They thought it meant dominating the conversation, flexing money, or putting on a show. They never understood the kind of quiet power you carry. You don't need to announce yourself because your aura does it for you. Sensitive people feel it before you even speak. The jealous ones scramble to downplay it, but deep down, they know. Your presence is not decoration, it's disruption. You don't just light up a room, you flip it upside down. And let's be brutally honest, they don't just feel you, they fear you. Not because you threatened them, but because your energy doesn't play favorites. It exposes, it reorganizes, it tests the truth of everyone who comes near. That's why some people suddenly fall silent around you, while others turn loud and defensive. Their reaction isn't about who you are. It's about what you force them to confront within themselves. Chosen one, this is why they better be careful with you. Being near you is not casual. It's not background noise. It's not a free pass. It's a test. And those who mishandle it find out the hard way that the universe does not forgive disrespect to rare energy. They lose opportunities, friendships crumble, fake confidence collapses, and all they can do is blame the very presence that exposed them. Now let's flip the perspective. Maybe you've asked yourself, why can't I just blend in? Why do people treat me like a threat, even when I want peace? The answer is simple, because you weren't built to blend. You weren't wired to shrink. Your frequency was born rare, refined by everything you survived, and sharpened into something undeniable. You can't fade into the background because you are the background. The atmosphere bends around you. You are the silence after the storm, the proof that chaos never wins against alignment. Think about it. Storms roar, scream, and tear everything apart. But after the storm, the silence is deafening, and it forces everyone to face what remains. That's you. You walk in, and suddenly the noise dies. The posturing ends. The truth sits naked in the corner, and enemies can't handle it. They'll call you too much, intense, or hard to read, when what they really mean is that your presence doesn't give them room to lie to themselves anymore. And that's exactly why your energy is a privilege, because it's not cheap, it's not fake, and it's not something they can find anywhere else. It's not ego, it's alignment, it's survival turned into power. It's the type of presence that either elevates someone or exposes them. There's no middle ground. That's why people either respect you or resent you, cling to you or attack you. No one forgets you, because no one can. Here's the truth they choke on but never say. Your energy makes them realize just how ordinary they really are. And instead of seeing it as inspiration, many see it as threat. But that's not your burden to carry. It's their battle to fight. Your only job is to keep walking, keep radiating, keep holding the line. Because your energy isn't just rare, it's dangerous to the careless. It's the kind of frequency that either heals or burns, and they get to choose how they handle it. The most powerful presence isn't the one that screams, it's the one that makes silence impossible to ignore. So let them whisper, let them squirm, let them shift in their seats when you enter. That's the evidence of what you carry, and chosen one, never forget, if they mishandle it, it's not your loss. It's theirs, because being in your presence is not an entitlement, it's a privilege, and those who take it lightly will always pay the price. Number 2, you're the evidence that power can't be faked. They thought you were finished, yet here you are, the living receipt of what can't be broken. Let's be real, your very existence is uncomfortable for a lot of people. You are the walking contradiction to everything they believe about power, status, and survival. They want to think power comes from titles, money, connections, or fake popularity. But then you show up, scarred, tested, underestimated, and still standing taller than ever. And suddenly, their illusions collapse. You're not supposed to exist in their world of pretenders, yet you do. And that terrifies them. Imagine this, a house built on sand, standing tall only because no storm has tested it. Then a hurricane arrives and everything crumbles in seconds. That's your enemies. They had comfort, they had numbers, they had their little stage. but none of it could survive real pressure. And then there's you, built on stone, not show. Storms didn't break you, they built you. That's why people either stare at you with admiration or glare at you with silent rage. You are proof that real power doesn't collapse, it multiplies under fire. What they tried to bury became your soil. What they thought would crush you became your crown. Chosen one, let's answer the question you might be asking yourself. Why do people look so uneasy around me, even when I haven't done anything? The answer is simple: you're proof. Proof that survival isn't reserved for the loudest voice in the room. Proof that strength doesn't come from manipulation or validation. Proof that authenticity still exists in a world addicted to fakeness. And when people see you, it reminds them of what they lack. It reminds them of the shortcuts they took, the compromises they made, and the fact that without their masks, they have nothing. This is why your presence divides people so sharply. Some feel pulled toward you, inspired by what you represent, because deep down they long for that same authenticity. Others recoil because your very existence exposes the lie they've built their identity on. You're not preaching to them, but your life preaches louder than any words could. And the truth is, they can't stand it. Your silence is their conviction, your scars are their reminder, your peace is their punishment. Now imagine this, a courtroom where the guilty think they've gotten away free. Suddenly, evidence is brought in, cold, undeniable, impossible to dismiss. That's you. Your life is the evidence, your resilience is the exhibit. Every scar you carry is a witness that testifies against their illusions. That's why they can't look at you without feeling judged. Not because you judged them, but because the truth you carry convicts them without a word. And here's the part that stings them most. You never needed their system. They spent years clawing for approval, faking smiles, cutting corners, begging for validation. You walked another path. You chose alignment with yourself, with truth, with the universe's design for you. That's why you're untouchable. They can't take credit for your rise. They can't explain it away with connections or luck. And so, in their eyes, you're dangerous, because you prove that power can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. Real power doesn't dress itself in costumes. It survives the fire naked and still comes out untouchable. Think about this. Why do people compete with you even when you're not competing with them? Why do they copy your style, your words, your ideas, then act like it's theirs? It's because they can't replicate what you carry. They can mimic the shell, but not the core. They can rehearse the performance, but not embody the presence. You are the real thing in a world full of counterfeits, and that fact alone drives them insane. And let's not sugarcoat this. They want you to break. They want to see you fall, not because they hate you personally, but because your resilience mocks their fragility. Every day you wake up and keep moving, you're a walking insult to their excuses. Every time you refuse revenge and choose peace, you prove they don't control you. Every silent victory you win, you're handing them evidence that their fake crowns and empty thrones are worthless. You didn't just survive the pressure, you became the pressure. Imagine this, a diamond and a piece of glass placed side by side. To the untrained eye, they might look similar, but only one can survive the hammer. That's you. You are the diamond, refined through unbearable weight, carved out of pain most people couldn't handle. They are the glass. Fragile, 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 and they know it. That's why they resent you. You remind them they are breakable while you are not. Chosen one, never downplay this truth. Your very survival is your crown. Your scars are not weaknesses, they are proof of your strength. People stare not because you're trying to shine, but because you are the shine that can't be dimmed. And the ones who stare hardest? They're the ones who tried to put out your fire, only to realize they were fueling it all along. This is why they better be careful with you, because mishandling you isn't just rude, it's dangerous. Not dangerous in the way they imagine, but dangerous in the way truth is dangerous to lies. You don't have to raise your voice, you don't have to threaten, you don't have to play their games. Your existence alone dismantles their illusions. You are the proof that cannot be ignored, the living contradiction that undoes the false power they worship. And here's the closing revelation. You were never just built different. You were sent different. Sent to show that survival isn't about privilege or pretense. Sent to prove that resilience can't be bought. Sent to remind the world that real power still walks in human form without needing titles, costumes, or theatrics. You are the evidence, chosen one, and evidence cannot be erased. So let them whisper, let them stare, let them plot. None of it matters, because the fact remains, your presence alone is proof. Proof that power can't be faked. Proof that truth can't be silenced. Proof that you are not ordinary and never will be. And that's why, from this moment forward, they better be careful, because being in your presence isn't entertainment, it's exposure, it's confrontation, it's privilege, and privilege mishandled always comes with consequences. Number 3, access to you is permission, not a right. They thought knowing you was casual until they realized it came with consequences. Being around you was never random, never coincidence. It was permission. The universe doesn't hand out access to you like it's party favors. It assigns it. That's why your presence isn't about friendship, popularity, or casual chemistry. It's about alignment. And when someone isn't aligned, your very existence exposes their cracks like floodlights shining on a broken wall. You're not cold, you're careful. That difference is what unsettles them. People want to call you distant, but in truth, you're disciplined, because you've lived the lesson, let the wrong person too close, and they don't just drain your energy, they distort your peace. Haven't you noticed how some people didn't show up to love you? They came to feed off your clarity, your calm, your light. And when the light got too bright, their shadows screamed. Proximity to you is a test, and most people fail it. Think about it. Why do so many fumble when they have a seat at your table? Why do they mock, disrespect, or try to manipulate, only to regret it later? Because they confused access with ownership. They thought they were entitled to you, but being around you is never a reward for their ego. It's a test of their character. And when they fail, the consequences follow them like unpaid debt. Imagine this, a rare artifact placed in someone's hands. They could honor it, protect it, study it, or they could toss it aside like it's ordinary. Which choice do you think most people make? That's exactly why so many are still paying for mishandling you, because losing access to you wasn't just losing a person, it was losing the blessing, the clarity, the mirror that forced them to face themselves. Your presence doesn't beg to be seen, it demands to be recognized. That's why you don't chase anymore. You've learned the truth. You are the standard. You don't explain your worth. You don't justify your boundaries. Your energy says everything louder than your words ever could. The right ones recognize you instantly. The wrong ones, they lose. And deep down, even if they'll never say it out loud, they know they lost something sacred the moment they lost access to you. Number 4, your silence is power, loud enough to break them. They brag about power, you breathe it. Chosen one, let's get this straight. You don't need to prove yourself. Your energy does the speaking long before your mouth opens. When you step into a room, the atmosphere tilts. People who were loud suddenly go quiet. Conversations stumble, eyes dart, and nerves kick in. They can't explain it, but they feel it. That's not imagination, that's you. That's the weight of a presence that doesn't ask for attention, but still commands it. Imagine this. Two people walk into the same space. One shouts their credentials, flashes their titles, tries to dominate the spotlight. The other, you, says nothing, but the room bends around your aura. Who do you think people really remember? That's the difference between noise and frequency. You are frequency. You are alignment. You are the reminder that real power doesn't need a microphone. Your presence is the stage they'll never earn. Enemies can't stand this because they built their entire existence on performance. They rely on manipulation, ego, and pretense to look powerful. But the second they stand near you, their mask slips. Why? Because authenticity always exposes counterfeit. You don't even have to speak, and already they feel off balance, small, seen through. Your silence screams louder than their noise ever could. You were never designed to chase the spotlight, because you are the light. That's why some people obsess over you, why others compete with you when there's nothing to compete with. Deep down, they know they can't touch what you embody without effort, without scars, without truth. And that truth drives them mad. You are not trying to dominate, you're simply existing, and your existence alone dominates the room. So don't ever think you're misunderstood because you're quiet. You're misunderstood because you carry a weight most people can't name. In a world addicted to fakery, your authenticity feels like fire to paper. Some will fear it, some will worship it, but none will ignore it. And that's the gut punch they live with. You don't speak power, you embody it, and without even trying, you expose them all. Number 5. You're not intimidating, they're just afraid of truth that doesn't flinch. They call you intimidating because they've never met someone who won't play small for their comfort. Chosen one, let's clear this up. You are not intimidating. That word gets thrown at you because people don't know what else to say when their masks start slipping in your presence. What they're really feeling isn't intimidation, it's exposure. They're not used to someone who refuses to shrink, who doesn't fake humility, who doesn't water themselves down to soothe fragile egos. To them, that feels dangerous. But the danger isn't you. It's their lies collapsing in real time. Imagine this, a stage full of actors, each clinging to their roles. Then someone walks in with no costume, no script, just raw truth. Who looks out of place, the actors or the truth teller? That's you. Your presence reminds them that they've been pretending, and the shock of authenticity makes them panic. Your certainty is their fear. Your authenticity is their enemy. You don't morph into whatever the room expects. You show up as yourself, flaws, fire, silence, and wisdom. You don't talk to impress. You speak when it matters, and your silence alone can slice through the noise. That clarity can't be manipulated, and that's what makes them nervous. It's not that you're unpredictable. It's that they can't control how you move. And what people can't control, they label as intimidating. But let's be honest, why do they really struggle with you? Because most people build their entire identity on being liked. You built yours on being aligned. You don't need applause to breathe. You don't need validation to move. And when someone who depends on external approval stands next to someone who doesn't, suddenly their entire foundation feels weak. You don't walk with intimidation, you walk with certainty, and certainty terrifies the insecure. Chosen one, never mistake their labels for truth. You're not the problem, you're just proof that authenticity is still alive, and illusions cannot survive in your presence. So when they call you intimidating, let them. What they're really saying is this: I don't know how to handle someone who doesn't need my approval to exist. And that's exactly why they better be careful, because your certainty is the one thing they can't fake, copy, or defeat. Number 6. You carry the blueprint. Their bloodline could never touch. They tried for generations to unlock what you carry and failed. You're the evidence their line could only dream of. Chosen one, there's something inside you that didn't begin with you, and it won't end with you either. Your aura holds codes, ancient frequencies that your ancestors reached for but could never crack. You are the living answer to doors they couldn't open, battles they couldn't win, chains they couldn't break. That's why people stop and stare, even if they can't explain it. Your very presence whispers a truth. This is what evolution looks like. Imagine this, a vault sealed shut for centuries, guarded by weight and time. Many tried to force it open, but the lock refused. Then you arrive, not with tools, but with the key already pulsing in your blood. That's your energy. You didn't study it in books. You didn't borrow it from others. You inherited it on a soul level and sharpened it through pain, isolation, and relentless growth. You are the living proof that destiny can break wide open where bloodlines once stopped cold. And here's why they act so strangely around you. On one hand, they're in awe. On the other, they project jealousy, fear, and insecurity. Why? Because your existence is a mirror that says, this is what you could have been if you had done the work. To some, you're not a person. You're a reminder, a reflection of the greatness they never reached. That truth cuts deep, and their reactions expose it. Think about it. Why do your words shake people's souls? Why does your silence feel heavier than someone else's speech? Because you don't just speak knowledge, you carry intelligence that was downloaded through experience, through scars, through cycles that ended with you. You're not just talking, you're breaking generational curses in conversations that last minutes, but hold centuries inside them. Your presence isn't just rare, it's inherited power perfected. So don't mistake their envy for strength. They're not threatened because you're better. They're threatened because you carry what their bloodline never could. You are the blueprint, the unlocked code, the living evidence that destiny doesn't repeat. It evolves, and that's why they better be careful. Because standing near you isn't casual, it's standing in front of everything they couldn't become. Number 7. Mishandling you always comes with a bill they can't afford. They thought losing you was the punishment. No, losing you was the warning. There is no such thing as a casual connection with you. Every person who crosses your path steps into an appointment with weight attached. Whether they recognize it or not, being in your presence activates something unseen. You're not just kind, not just wise, you are the assignment. And how they handle that assignment doesn't just shape their future with you, it determines the trajectory of their own life. Haven't you noticed the pattern? The ones who honored you, supported you without agenda, protected you instead of exploiting you, their lives aligned. Doors opened, peace expanded, clarity flowed. Then look at the others. The liars, the manipulators, the ones who disrespected you. Where are they now? Spiraling, losing what they thought was untouchable, watching doors close that once swung wide. Not because you curse them, but because mishandling you is mishandling a blessing the universe sent to elevate them. Your presence is either medicine or poison. It all depends on how they handle the dose. For some, you are healing. For others, you are exposure. You're the kind of soul that either lifts people into alignment or reveals the darkness they've been hiding. There is no neutral ground. That's why some turn hostile. Not because you did them wrong, but because they couldn't fake their way past your discernment. They thought they were dealing with just you. They didn't realize disrespecting you meant colliding with the covering that protects you. Imagine this. Someone handed the keys to a rare, priceless car. They could drive carefully and be taken further than they ever dreamed. Instead, they slam it into a wall. Do they blame the car or their recklessness? That's what happens with people who mishandle you. The wreckage isn't coincidence, it's consequence. You don't chase closure, you don't seek revenge, you let the universe balance the books, and it always does. That's why people's lives fall apart after doing you wrong. It's not petty karma, it's spiritual law. You were sent to awaken, elevate, expose. And when they chose betrayal over honor, they weren't just losing you, they were triggering consequences that can't be reversed. That's why being near you is never meaningless. It's always one of two things, a blessing or a lesson. Number 8. You don't chase the spotlight. You are the fire that can't be extinguished. They think you glow for applause. Truth is, you glow because nothing could kill you. Chosen one, let's set the record straight. Your light isn't manufactured. It didn't come from trends, filters, or staged motivation. It wasn't bought, borrowed, or borrowed from somebody else's influence. Your glow was forged in places most people would have collapsed. You radiate because you survived what should have buried you, and instead of turning bitter, you turned aligned. That's a difference they'll never understand. Imagine this: coal under pressure becomes a diamond, while dust under pressure becomes nothing. Which one are you? You've been through storms that stripped everything away. Friends vanished, support disappeared, your name dragged through dirt. You fought battles in silence, without an audience, without applause, and still, you rose. That's why today, when you enter a room, people feel something they can't explain. That's not hype, that's harmony. And harmony can't be faked. Your presence isn't performance, it's proof. You don't shine for attention, you radiate because you're aligned. And that's why people obsess over you. Some admire it, others imitate it, but none can replicate it. Why? Because what you carry can't be copied. Your energy wasn't built on ambition, it was carved from alignment. They keep trying to compete, posting more, saying more, doing more, while you win by being. And that burns them. Have you noticed how some get irritated just by your peace? Why others look jealous when you're not even trying? That's because your alignment is magnetic. It doesn't shout, it doesn't advertise, it doesn't beg. It simply is. And in a world addicted to noise, that silence feels like a threat. You don't radiate for them, you radiate in spite of them. So let them scramble for likes, for followers, for applause. Let them keep reaching for what you already embody, because they'll never find the switch you flipped, the route you tapped, the fire you kept alive in the dark. You don't shine to be seen, you shine because you survived, healed, and aligned. And that's exactly why they better be careful, because your light isn't decoration, it's revelation. Number 9. Your boundaries aren't walls, they're warnings. They thought your silence was stubbornness. It was a verdict. Chosen one, you've reached a level where your boundaries are no longer personal, they're sacred. You don't pull back to prove a point or play childish games. You step back because something inside you registers when the energy is off, when intentions are dirty, when your presence is being treated like it's disposable. And when that happens, you don't debate, you don't justify, you move quietly, powerfully, permanently. Your boundaries are not rejection, they are protection and sometimes correction. People forget that being close to you isn't a casual arrangement, it's a responsibility. You carry weight, clarity, and alignment. Mishandle that through lies, manipulation, or neglect, and consequences follow. That's why your absence feels different from anyone else's. It isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. When you walk away, something leaves with you. The peace, the clarity, the covering that once shielded them. And suddenly, their own chaos echoes louder without you there to absorb it. Imagine this: someone constantly abusing a safety net until one day it's gone. The next fall is harder, sharper, and unforgettable. That's what your boundaries create. Not punishment, but reflection. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces people to face themselves without your presence softening the blow. You don't walk away to hurt them. You walk away because grace has been wasted. They thought they had unlimited access. They assumed they could come and go as they pleased, take your energy like water from a faucet, and return whenever it suited them. But when you close the door, it isn't pride. It's purpose. Your spirit knows when enough is enough. And once that line is crossed, your absence becomes a message louder than any confrontation. You had something rare and you misused it. You're not cruel, you're clear. Your boundaries aren't brick walls, they're divine filters. The ones who value you will respect them and grow stronger through them. But the ones who thought they could mishandle you without consequence, they'll learn the hardest way possible that losing you isn't just loss, it's a lesson, and that's why they better be careful, because your boundaries don't just protect you, they expose them. Number 10. Your presence forces their demons out of hiding. They don't hate you, they hate what bleeds out of them when you walk in. Chosen one, when you enter a room, the atmosphere doesn't just shift, it convicts. Suddenly, things people thought were buried start clawing their way back to the surface. Old shame, hidden jealousy, unresolved pain. It rises, and they can't control it. You don't have to speak, you don't have to lift a finger. Your presence itself is the alarm clock they can't hit snooze on. And that's why they fidget, why they get defensive, why their energy cracks the second you show up. Your silence screams at the lies they've built their lives around. Imagine this: a dark attic where junk has been hidden for years, dusty, forgotten, ignored. Then suddenly, someone opens the window and sunlight pours in. The dust dances, the mess is undeniable, and there's no pretending anymore. That's you. You are that sunlight. Your energy doesn't allow shadows to stay comfortable, and when people see their reflection in your light, they call it intimidation or arrogance. But really, it's exposure. Labels are easier than mirrors. That's why they'll call you too much, intense, or difficult. It's projection, not truth, because facing themselves is harder than blaming you. Being near you forces them to question their choices, their values, their entire identity. And for people addicted to illusions, that kind of honesty feels like a threat. You don't stir chaos, you reveal it. That's why some open up deeply in your presence, while others shut down or run. You activate people. You hold space without effort. But when someone isn't ready to confront the reflection they see in your mirror, they'll sabotage instead of transform. They'll twist the story, ghost you, or paint you as the villain, because it's easier to rewrite the narrative than rewrite themselves. But don't take it personal. It was never you they feared. It was the truth you dragged out of hiding. And that's why they better be careful, because your presence doesn't just enter a space, it unmasks it. Number 11. They crave your crown, but couldn't survive your cross. They want your glow, but they'd collapse under the fire that forged it. Chosen one, people don't just envy you, they want to be you. They see the strength in your walk, the calm in your voice, the unshakable peace you carry, and they think, I need that too. But what they don't realize is this: nothing about you came free. Your light wasn't handed to you, it was hammered out of you. Every ounce of grace, wisdom, and clarity you carry came at a cost most people couldn't survive for a week. Imagine this: they're admiring the fruit on your tree, but they've never felt the storm that nearly uprooted it. They want your strength, but not your sleepless nights. They want your discernment, but not the betrayals that sharpened it. They want your compassion, but not the pain of being overlooked, dismissed, and doubted until you almost lost yourself. They see the polished diamond, but they don't want the crushing pressure that made it. You weren't gifted your glow, you bled for it. And here's the truth they'll never admit: they don't actually want to walk your path. They want the results, not the refining. They want the wisdom without the wounds, the crown without the cross. But you were built in fire, forged in isolation, tested by storms that left no applause. You didn't just survive, you kept rising over and over until your scars became your strength. So when they envy you, remind yourself they're only seeing the highlight reel. They don't see the silent battles. They don't see the moments you were buried under despair. They don't see the countless times you had to rebuild yourself from nothing. Every radiant part of you was reclaimed from pain. Your glow is not magic, it's mastery, and mastery always comes with a cost. That's why they better be careful, because while they fantasize about copying your shine, they're blind to the fire that made it. You didn't just arrive here, you were reborn, and every step of that rebirth lives in your presence, reminding them that envy without endurance is worthless. Number 12. They asked for a blessing and fumbled the answer. They prayed for truth, but when it showed up in flesh and bone, they weren't strong enough to hold it. Chosen one, some people cried out for something real. They begged for loyalty, for love that didn't betray, for peace in the middle of their chaos. And when the universe answered, it sent you. Not loud, not showy, not wrapped in fake perfection, just pure, steady, intentional. The very thing their soul was starving for walked into their life, and still they mishandled it. Because here's the truth: they didn't want sacred, they wanted convenience. They didn't want responsibility, they wanted relief. And when you arrived, carrying what they swore they were ready for, their ego exposed the lie. They doubted your love. They projected their insecurities. They tried to control what was sent to heal them. They prayed with their mouths, but they weren't aligned in spirit, and your presence revealed the gap. You weren't sent to be worshipped. You were sent to elevate, and elevation demands responsibility. Imagine this: someone begs for rain in a drought, but when the sky finally breaks open, they curse the storm instead of collecting the water. That's exactly how they treated you. They wanted the blessing without the burden, the sacred without the sacrifice. And when they mishandled it, the consequences weren't just emotional, they were spiritual. Your presence didn't just comfort, it exposed. It revealed how unprepared they were for the very thing they asked for. Instead of rising with you, they clung to dysfunction. Instead of honoring you, they sabotaged the connection. And when you left, reality hit like a thunderclap. You can't be replaced. Not because you're arrogant, but because you were assigned. When an assignment is misused, it leaves a void no counterfeit can fill. That's the tragedy they're sitting with now. They thought they had time. They thought they could play games, leave, and return at will. But once the door closed, it locked. The universe doesn't resend blessings to people who've already proven they can't handle them. And that's why they better be careful, because losing you wasn't just loss. It was their answered prayer turning into silence. Number 13. Their approval is useless. The universe already stamped you. They laughed, doubted, and dismissed you, yet every time, life itself rose to prove them wrong. Chosen one, you've reached a level where validation doesn't even register. You no longer beg to be seen, you don't argue to be understood, and you don't dance for applause. Why? Because the universe already confirmed you. Every time someone tried to make you second-guess yourself, reality stepped in with proof. The right door opened, the protection arrived, the breakthrough came right on time, and you didn't hustle for their approval. You aligned, and alignment handled the rest. Your confirmation doesn't come from their claps. It comes from undeniable synchronicities they can't explain. Think about it. How many times did you sense a shift and the exact thing unfolded? How many times did you dodge disaster without even knowing the danger you escaped? That's not luck. That's not chance. That's the blueprint of your path revealing itself in real time. Meanwhile, those who doubted you, who whispered behind your back, who mocked your silence, they had to sit there and watch life itself co-sign you. Imagine this, a courtroom where the crowd boos, mocks, and points fingers until the judge slams the gavel and rules in your favor. Who matters more, the noise or the verdict? That's you. Their opinions are noise. The verdict is the alignment that keeps proving you right. Others chase likes. You chase truth, and truth doesn't need an audience to be valid. That's why you don't move like them. They ask, will people accept me? You ask, am I aligned with what's real? And the proof keeps rolling in. They call it luck, but they never saw the nights you wrestled with yourself. They call it easy, but they never endured the inner battles that broke and rebuilt you. What they can't stomach is this. Your results don't come from being seen. They come from being sent. So let them doubt, let them mock. You don't need their green light. You already have one that never fails, and that's why they better be careful, because no amount of denial can overturn a verdict already stamped by the universe. Number 14. Coming against you is a battle they already lost. Every scheme they plot dies before it breathes, because you're not standing alone, you're standing surrounded. Chosen one, there's a reason every weapon aimed at you shatters before it hits. Every lie whispered, every trap set, every hand raised against you, it collapses. Not because you fight dirty, not because you beg for pity, but because you're not just chosen, you are covered. You walk with a protection that eyes can't see, but enemies can't deny. And the more they push against you, the more they discover that unseen forces already drew the line. Your silence isn't weakness, it's awareness. You already know how this ends. Haven't you noticed? They tried to bury you, but your name rose higher. They tried to slander you, but the truth outlived the lies. They tried to wound you, but the harm never landed. That's not chance, it's proof. You're guarded, watched and backed by realms their hands will never reach. They're swinging at shadows while you walk with the shield of alignment. Imagine this, someone trying to fight a storm with a paper umbrella. That's what your enemies look like. They plot and scheme, not realizing they're stepping into a realm they cannot control. Every move against you is recorded, every word weighed, every action triggering consequences they can't escape. By the time the results hit, there are no refunds, no undo button, just the cost of colliding with what they should have respected. Harming you is never harmless. It's a debt that always collects. That's why betrayal never works. That's why envy can't stop your rise. Because you weren't assembled by this world. You were assigned. You weren't shaped for convenience. You were sent with covering. To mishandle you is to mishandle sacred ground. And the dangerous part? They don't even realize the weight of what they touched until the fallout swallows them whole. So remember this, you don't defend yourself like others because you don't have to. The universe has already ruled in your favor. And that's why they better be careful, because coming against you isn't just reckless, it's suicide for their own path. And so, chosen one, remember this: their envy, their plots, their whispers, all of it collapses against the power of your presence. You are not ordinary, and nothing about your path is casual. Every step you take is confirmation that you are untouchable, undeniable, and irreplaceable. If this message spoke to you, let it echo louder. Like, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your alignment. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that being in your presence is a privilege, not a right. The chosen rise, and you're living proof.